All righty. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's episode of Roundabout Sports presented by Interstate 70 Sports Media, where our passion is our profession. Folks, good evening. It is episode 117 on a cold January 22nd, 2025. I'm the Maestro Jeremy Carper alongside my dear friend Andrew Henson. Andrew, how's it going, buddy?
Man, I'm tired, low key, but I'm good.
Look, man, I feel you on that one. And there has been a lot of exhausting things happening in the world of sports over the past few days. And the first one we're going to be talking about this evening is definitely the fallout from the NFL divisional round. Folks, first, be sure to follow us on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Pocket Casts, and anywhere else where you may stream your shows. Be sure to follow Interstate 70 Sports Media on Facebook, on X, and you can follow us on our official YouTube channel as well. So, with all that being said, okay, folks, stop if you've heard this before. Oh, man, I can't believe I'm saying this again. The Kansas City Chiefs are heading to the AFC Championship game.
Woo woo.
So, look, it was a game full of controversy, adversity, and intensity, but the Kansas City Chiefs edged out the Houston Texans at Arrowhead Stadium to advance to their fourth AFC title game in the past, or actually their fifth straight AFC Championship game, and their fourth against what will be a matchup between the Bills and Chiefs in the playoffs for the fourth time in the last 5 seasons. But we'll get into that shortly. The main thing we got to talk about to kick things off is what happened in that game between the Chiefs and the Texans. Okay, I'm going to just address the elephant in the room, Andrew. What happened with the officiating?
What part?
I think we have to start with the roughing the passer penalty.
That was a rough
Anderson.
call. That was a rough call.
Yeah, that was rough. I don't feel at all it was roughing the passer.
Absolutely.
If they talk about helmet to helmet, okay, it's with the crown of the helmet. Will Anderson was clearly, it was a face mask contact, and it wasn't even up to the level of a lot of blatant roughing the passer calls that we normally see.
I've seen some way worse hits not get called.
Yeah, I'm about to say that's another thing. And a friend of mine pointed that out to me yesterday. It's not even about seeing the hits that get called. It's about seeing the hits that are worse that don't get called, to your point. Now, we thought, okay, maybe this would be the one no call or the one bad call of the day. It wasn't. It really wasn't. There was the slot, Patrick Mahomes sliding, and two Texans defenders colliding into each other, and then they call that as unnecessary roughness.
I screamed at my.
Yeah. That one was definitely not pleasant either.
We're not going to say what I say, but you know my term. You know the term I use.
Yeah, we know. I definitely know some of the things that you would say in regards to that. When we had talked after the game in some retrospects about it. And you clearly see on the replay. Look, when Joe Buck and Troy Aikman get sick of these bad calls, it's getting awful. So, and I guess the last notable one I have to bring up, and gosh forbid I have to bring it up, the flop. Like, what do we even say to that one?
You tell me. You know what I'm gonna say.
I know what you're gonna say, but look, there's plenty of words we can say. Patrick Mahomes had no business doing that. Mahomes had no business. It was a light shove, and he decided to whoop, and fly out
Almost hurt
practically.
himself, but besides
Right, he could have hurt. He could have actually hurt himself worse than what he was trying to play off. On that play. Um, and you know what I think the interesting thing is, people are gonna act like we are saying that the Chiefs only won because of the referees.
mm-mm. They won.
They won the game, okay? And if anything, Houston cost themselves the game. Um, they missed between the missed field goal and the missed extra point. You cannot look the drive of the game and by both teams was Houston's opening drive to the second half. They literally went a 15 play 82-yard opening drive that took over almost 10 and a half minutes off the clock.
Ridiculous.
Multiple fourth down conversions.
That's crazy in
Um,
the NFL, by the way. That is
yeah,
ridiculous.
and D'Amico Ryan's. I mean, it was the play drive of the century for him.
Mm-hmm.
And C.J. Stroud, who was getting battered all day, Joe Mixon, who was getting stuffed at the line all day. They went down that field, and look, it was 13-12. Okay, cool. And then they missed the extra point.
Oh
So
man,
it's 13-12.
you got my head hurting already.
You cannot afford those mistakes against a team like the Chiefs, especially in January. You just can't. They're the one team that mistakes like that are not an option against. And what ends up happening next drive? Pat Mahomes to Travis Kelce, touchdown, 20 to
Can we give
12.
a big shout out to Travis Kelsey finally waking up this year?
After quite a few weeks of being quiet, Travis Kelce shows us why he's a future Hall of Famer.
First ballot Hall of
And
Famer. Say it
yeah,
right.
and he's now up to this was actually his ninth 100-yard receiving game in the playoffs, which broke a tie with who else but Jerry Rice for the most in NFL history. And he is just 2 touchdowns shy of tying Rice for the most in playoff history as well. With 20, he has 20. The record's 22.
He's a guy. I'm telling you.
Now, I think what's crazy about this is Travis Kelce's 34, and people will be like, "Oh, well, that's old." Yeah, Jerry Rice played until he was about 42.
Travis Kelsey ain't playing that long.
No, but I think it's a testament to. But I think that's more of the testament to the player he is, of his caliber. Like,
do you think Jerry? That's what I say. I would say Jerry Rice his longevity and skill was better than Travis Kelsey, but Travis Kelsey's dominance is very superior.
I can agree to that. I think
There you go.
because I look at it and you see, Jerry Rice was able to play consistently better for a longer period of time.
Mm-hmm.
But Travis Kelsey's been able to do more in a shorter amount of time.
Yep.
And like you said, first ballot Hall of Famer, which, no doubt.
And we gotta give a big shout out to another podcast. I won't say the name, but if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Oh, yeah.
Had to.
I know you did. So after beating the Texans 23-14, they just had to wait to see who would they face. Would they face Baltimore
Crazy.
or would they face Buffalo? Okay.
I'm about to walk off. I'm about to walk off the
So,
screen.
so before we get to the NFC divisional games, we have to go to the other AFC game of Baltimore and Buffalo. First things first. What do you think of all these fans that, and keep in mind, over 20,000 comments have attacked Mark Andrews on social media? What are your genuine thoughts on this?
I don't know why you're attacking him. Nobody's perfect. That. Unfortunately, in that situation, that's a catch you got to make. But it happens. Ask Kobe.
Yeah.
Kobe's missed how many game-winning shots? Ask Jordan, how many game-winning shots did he miss? It happens.
Yeah, he definitely missed quite a few, but still
You
one of
know,
the all-time greats.
Mark
Um,
Andrews. That's gonna eat at him. It really is. He fought so hard to get back from injury this year, and then for that to happen, it's gonna eat at him. But big shout out to the Buffalo Bills and their fan base for donating to the organization he supports. Big shout out to him.
yeah, very big shout out. Over $60,000
Big facts.
have been donated as of this morning to Mark Andrews charity and that he supports. And for those that don't know, the charity is excuse me, where is it? To the Breakthrough Type 1 Diabetes Organization, which works towards curing and improving the lives of those dealing with type 1 diabetes. And so what Andrew and I are getting at here is, first, at one point, it looked like Buffalo was going to run away with this game. Lamar
Mm-hmm.
Jackson turning the ball over like crazy. The offense of Baltimore just wasn't looking good. And second half, they come alive. They mount a big comeback. Lamar Jackson shows why he could very well win, his third MVP now, if he
He's
wins it
probably
this
gonna
year.
win it. He's probably gonna win it.
I mean, to me, the only if we're considering it a quarterback only award at this point, then really the only competition for him would be Josh Allen.
Saquon's gonna be offensive player of the year, and whoever wins the, unfortunately,
And I was gonna say, I feel like that's kind of the path we're gonna take, is where the offensive player of the year is going to become a non-quarterback every year, and the quarterback's always going to be the most valuable player. I mean, it makes sense, but it also is kind of a bummer because, like I said, last time we saw a quarterback win MVP was AP in 2012.
yeah, and that was a spectacular year. Although Saquon, but did you see the year Lamar had this year?
Yes, Lamar had a phenomenal year. Here's one quick question before we get back to the game. If Saquon broke Eric Dickerson's record, does he win MVP?
If Lamar didn't play the last game, yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. I mean, I look at what happened. So Baltimore is able to cut the lead from, as down as they were, to 27-25. They score a touchdown with 1:33 to go. All they need is a 2-point conversion. Lamar throws it to a wide open Mark Andrews. We cannot stress this. Look, it was wide open. Nobody covered him. The pass, I'll be honest, the pass was a little low, but it was so
Mark
open up
Andrews
that somebody like Mark Andrews should have caught it, and he didn't. And he literally, in more ways than one, dropped the ball. They can't get the onside kick, and Buffalo comes away with the victory at home. And
Give me
they
your
travel.
top 5 in the league.
Huh?
Give me your top 5 tight ends in the league right now.
In no particular order. I mean, I'm going to say Travis Kelce. I'm going Brock Bowers already. I'm putting Brock Bowers in the top 5. I was hoping Sam Laporta had a great year because then I'd put him in there, but he didn't. So we're going to go Travis Kelce, Brock Bowers, George Kittle, Mark Andrews.
You already answered my question. That's why everyone's attacking him. That's a catch someone like his caliber gotta have.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, fair enough. It's definitely something that you would expect him to make that type of catch. It's something. Yeah. So it's unfortunate, and I feel for him because, like I said, his girlfriend had to shut off social media because fans did nothing but attack them after the game. First off, what does she have to do with what happened in the game? Second off, like, where do you get off, trash? There's a difference between trash talking, getting pissed, and then blatantly coming after a player personally.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big difference, you know.
That's how it
So,
goes, unfortunately, too much in this day and age.
yeah, it definitely showed the dark side of social media and ease of access in being able to vent your frustrations in times like this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Bills, Chiefs, AFC title game. We're gonna preview that later on in the show. But now we gotta hop over to the NFC. Now we're gonna before we get to the big shocker to many people, we're gonna go to Philly. It was a snowy day in Philadelphia. The Rams and Eagles are no strangers to each other this season. And Saquon Barkley is no stranger to running right through that Rams defense. And boy, did he do it again. Um,
Did he?
Andrew, what's your takeaway from that game?
Saquon's dangerous right now. Saquon is
Does
dangerous.
does okay. Now the final score was 28-22 Eagles. My
Mhm.
thing is that really reflective of the
No, sir.
game?
No, sir. The Rams looked like they had a chance, but I will. This is what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
If you can slow down Saquon, you have a chance. Because Jalen Hurts does not look like Jalen Hurts right now.
Is he kind of in the same field as Pat Mahomes this
He's
year?
injured.
Not right. Not
He's
but
dealing
not
with that. He's
looking
dealing with
like
that
what
leg injury,
yeah.
and it's just I can tell it's beating him up. He came out with that fat brace on his knee. Mm-mm.
Is Saquon the only thing keeping them alive in these playoffs?
No, sir. But he's the main thing because you have to account for Saquon.
And I was gonna say, if you look at it, to me, that defense is still lights out.
Amazing.
That I think that last
And
drive where the Rams
the
scored
emergence of Jalen Carter. Oh my goodness. That
that
boy
sack
finna
on
pay
third down.
that boy. He finna get paid.
I was gonna say when Jalen Carter's contract is up, he's big time.
Boy.
And you know what's funny? According to there's different camera angles that people have been posting, and it says honestly, the Rams could have actually that sack is what ended the game. Yes, it was only third down, but Stafford was not built for these elements.
Nope.
He
Even
played
though
in
he's
Detroit his whole career, which was inside. He only had to go to since he only had to go to Chicago and Green Bay once a year.
mm-hmm.
Then he goes to the Rams, where nobody has to deal with snow in the West. So he goes to Philly, and it's an absolute blizzard. And no, he's not ready for it. So on second down, and he has good field position, Jalen Carter sacks him for a big loss, and it's already fourth down. You're out.
Like they just came up big when they needed to. The game was really an even. It wasn't too uneven, but just one team made bigger plays when it mattered the most.
I think to me, it's the fact that Saquon got a 62-yard touchdown and a 78-yard touchdown in the snow.
That's crazy.
That to me is the biggest thing. I mean, oh my gosh, it was
Look
so
who he
crazy.
played in New York.
Yeah, and Jalen Hurts even had himself, even bad leg and all, had himself a 44-yard touchdown run. So
I think that's what ultimately hurt his leg the most.
yeah, I could see that. Jalen Hurts put a lot of pressure on his leg in this game. But the interesting thing, okay, well, who do you would think naturally the Eagles would be facing the Detroit Lions at Ford Field. There is no way Jaden Daniels and Washington, the lowly Commanders, could beat the big bad 15-2 Lions, right?
I've been saying it. I've been said it. I've been said it. I told
Well,
you should have had me on here 2 to 3 weeks ago. I've been saying it.
man, oh man, this was fun. I don't care what anybody says, even the Baltimore game. I don't care what anybody says. This was the most fun game to watch. This might have been the most fun game of the playoffs so far. Because I knew going into it, and I said it last week on here. I said this game's going to be good. Now I predicted Detroit would win. I will say that I did predict Detroit would win, but I said it was going to be fun. It was probably going to be a shootout. Now, if you sat there and told me it was going to be 45-31 Washington at the end of the game, look, Washington or not, I think you're crazy. Like,
I thought you had some screws loose. I ain't gonna lie.
yeah, even you who thought Washington with Jaden Daniels could pull it off, dropping 45 and save me. Oh, go ahead.
The sad reality is, I'm not as surprised as I would think I am, because
And
I
why is
told
that?
everyone that defense was gonna bite them in the butt. All them injuries was gonna bite them in the butt. We all knew it. Someone was gonna find a way to exploit it, and Washington did.
Okay, this is my problem with that. I consider that a half right thing. All right. Yes, you have 15 or more players on IR that are on defense, including Aiden Hutchinson, a massive piece to your defense. So we're not gonna deny that you just lost a big chunk of your defense here. But let's flash back to when they faced Minnesota in Week 18 to win the division in the number 1 seed. And everybody's like, oh, injuries or not, we're overcoming the odds. We're not going to let it be an excuse for us.
Let me stop. Let my inner Packer fandom just speak.
So it's okay for it to be no excuse a few weeks ago, but they lose a game and suddenly, oh, no, we can't do this because now we just didn't have the amount of guys we're short. No, there's 2 reasons to me Detroit lost this game. Actually, I'll do 3. Number 1, sure, I'll give you the thing with the defensive injuries. That will hurt anybody. If the Chiefs had that issue, it would hurt them too. Like, you can't it's hard to truly overcome that. If you can, amazing. But if not, but 5 turnovers. 5.
I got one thing to say to that, though.
Okay.
So when it comes to their turnovers, I feel like one of the things that really hurt them offensively, one, having that week off. I would never want to be a 1 seed. I promise you, I would never want to be a 1 seed.
Because of the bye week.
Momentum is everything. And the injury to David Montgomery with that bye week, I'm not saying Jahmyr Gibbs is not good.
No.
But I don't think he was ready at the end of the season to take over the way he did.
What made the Lions so dangerous this year was literally the fact that you had Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery as a 2-back tandem.
A speedy, shifty back and a power run through over everybody back.
Right. And it's because of that injury to David Montgomery, you would be like, but you could look at it like, okay, well, he gets an extra week to recover. Yeah, but that's also extra rust. It's a double-edged sword. So I look at the Lions. Also, now Ben Johnson has been named the new head coach of the Chicago Bears.
Oh, I have a lot to say about that. I already got a lot to say about
him. The offensive coordinator of the Lions at the time. And I'm going to be honest with you. You want to add another thing into this. terrible play calling offensively.
Literally
Look,
awful.
there is nothing you could ever do to convince me to. It doesn't matter the receiver. It's not that it's Jamison Williams. It's just any receiver. Convince me that on 1st and 10 on a drive you need to score on, you're going to throw a trick play having your wide receiver throw the ball.
Especially the manner in which they did.
And it was a terrible call. There was no fooling anybody on Washington. Like, it was so blatantly obvious. And for those wondering, that was one of the interceptions on the day.
Oh yeah.
And
the other that was the interception that stood out to me the most. I'm like, that's the main one that didn't have to happen.
yeah,
the others are whatever, like
the
I hate
others
to be
were
like
great
that.
plays by the defense.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between interceptions on the quarterback and interceptions just by great defense. Like the one to end the first half, that was just a great play on the ball.
Yeah, it happens.
He aimed for the end zone. Corner. I thought it was going to be a touchdown, but the corner had great closing speed, picked it off. Nothing wrong with that. But trick plays like that late that are in the second half that don't need to happen, because this is the biggest problem. All the three issues why they lost tie together. It's a triangle. The poor offensive play calling results in turnovers. Turnovers lead to getting the ball back to Washington and Jaden Daniels. And the defensive injuries are the reason that Jaden Daniels was absolutely unstoppable. Like, Jaden Daniels was a freak of nature.
He woke up and chose violence. He chose greatness that day. He woke up and...
Okay, we saw Lions fans crying on camera.
Yeah. I made my day.
As a Packer fan, I know you enjoyed that.
And did.
Yeah.
And then when I saw Dan Campbell's cherry red nose light up and him put his head down, let me stop. Let me stop.
I know you enjoyed it. And guess what? He's not the only one that's gone now. Ben Johnson. Aaron Glenn's gone too.
I couldn't believe he left. Oh, I could not believe
Aaron Glenn is now the new head coach of the Jets.
Terrible hire, by the way. I'm going to say it first. That's going to be a terrible hire for the Jets. Let me stop. Your guys are going to be more in a hole than you thought.
I was about to say, so now we've talked many times, and I'm going to ask you about this in regards to Baltimore in a couple minutes.
Okay.
But I want to ask you about this for Detroit first, because they just lost their offensive coordinator and they just lost their defensive coordinator. They just went 15-2 in a division that had 3 playoff teams and 3 teams with double-digit wins. Here's the question. Was this the year it was supposed to happen?
For Detroit?
Yes.
Detroit still got a window.
Okay. Because
I do believe Detroit has a window. But Lamar had to. This was Lamar's year.
I was about to say, so now I'm going to go to Baltimore. This is the last question for the halfway point of the show. And I have to ask, Baltimore, Lamar Jackson's biggest hurdle in his career was not getting far in the divisional round or getting past the divisional round or getting, to the Super Bowl. He has all these MVP awards, has all these records. Was this the make or break season for Lamar Jackson?
In my personal opinion, yes, sir.
Okay. Because now we got Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes again. And
had the best season of his career. He figured out how to throw the ball, 40-plus touchdowns. What was it? 5 interceptions, was it?
Yeah, it was 5 interceptions. And you have Derrick Henry on your team now?
Defense was playing great. Like, I know Zay Flowers went down, but come on, dog. Like, come on, bro. But the sad reality is, it's like, this was his year.
Yeah, it really was. So now the championship games are set. The Bills are going to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. God, we've heard that one before. And the Commanders, who beat Detroit 45-31, are heading to Philly, and they are going for their first NFC Championship game for the first time in over 30 years. And before I, do our middle of the show plugs and everything, I have to say this is my favorite stat. Your next month you turn 29. In a few months I'm turning 30.
Ooh.
Now, there is just one team in our lifetime that has yet to make the NFC Championship game. Do you know who it is?
Cleveland. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I had to.
I was like, wait. I mean, you're right.
So?
It was the AFC, huh?
What team is it?
It's them Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, them Cowgirls? Oh, dang.
Yeah. The Cowgirls have not made it in our lifetime.
You know why I don't ever think of the Cowboys?
Because nobody ever does at this point.
Because they're irrelevant.
I was going
to say,
my
pastor doesn't see this.
It doesn't matter as long as Jerry Jones was owner. Let's face it. Nothing's going to happen. Successfully, at least. Okay, well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Right now, we're at the halfway point. I am the Maestro Jeremy Karp, alongside Andrew Henson. It is episode 117 of Roundabout Sports. Be sure to check us out on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Pocket Casts, and anywhere else you might be streaming a podcast. Be sure to advertise with us on Interstate 70 Sports Media. Send a direct message to us on any of our socials for more details. Be sure to follow Interstate 70 Sports Media on Facebook, X, and on our YouTube channel. Got a lot of great content coming your way. Be sure to check out the Blues Fan Forum podcast and the Other Guys Sports podcast. And yes, those are the names of those podcasts, as well as Issues with Wrestling with Jared and Christopher Miles. So while we await Andrew's return, I want to say, yes, it was an interesting divisional round week. It's going to be an interesting week for football, but I want to say this. How is it that so they had the Baseball Hall of Fame enshrinement? Well, they didn't have the ceremony, but they had the voting yesterday and revealed the three newest inductees: Ichiro, CC Sabathia, and Billy Wagner. It's crazy because I literally grew up watching these guys. In the sake of either, their names were all over, they were icons, top dogs. Ichiro's the first Japanese-born player to make it to the Hall of Fame, and he received 99.7% of the vote, which means out of 394 votes possible, he got 393. And for the one writer or hack journalist out there who did not vote for Ichiro, man up or nut up or whatever and reveal yourself. Because you're going to have to take the criticism if they find out one way or another. And he would have joined, if Ichiro got that last vote, he would have joined Mariano Rivera as the only unanimous inductees. Instead, he's second only to Derek Jeter's votes in 2020 as far as for position player. Now, I want to also, point something out as far as the voting goes. So, to stay on the ballot, you need to get 5% of the votes. To be inducted, you need 75% of the votes. Now, I will say there's some interesting names that are on the list that are still going to be on it next year, but did not get enough votes. Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod, only got 37% of the vote. And his window's closing because, and look, great career, but anybody that knows the name A-Rod kind of has a good idea as to why he might not make the Hall of Fame. Then we get into Chase Utley. Chase Utley got on basically 40% of the vote, and he's still fresh on the ballot. So, and he played for 16 years, a 6-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger, almost over 250 home runs, and he has 7 career World Series home runs, which is the most for a second baseman. So, good for him. Andrew Jones, 66% of the vote. And then Carlos Beltran, former Cardinal, former Astro, former Ranger, 70% of the vote, 19 votes shy of induction. But this was Billy Wagner, good old Billy the Kid, his last year on the ballot, and he got 82.5% of the votes. And CC Sabathia, he got 86.8% of the votes on this year's ballot. So Ichiro and CC Sabathia, first-time Hall of Famers, or first ballot Hall of Famers. And Billy the Kid, last chance, but the wait was worth it. So congratulations to the 3 of them. Be sure to check online for the full ballot results on Interstate 70 Sports Media. That's interstate70sports.media. And also go on the web and look up next year's first-time nominees. Not going to lie, looking kind of rough. Okay, well, we're welcoming Andrew back. Got the Baseball Hall of Fame talk out of the way. I want to do one more football topic this evening because Monday we said goodbye to college football for the season. And wow. Okay, so
I'm still hurt.
Ohio State is for the first time since 2014, they are the new national champions. And just type it in on Google, you'll see fireworks go off and something scrolling up saying Ohio State FBS champions. They're number 6 Ohio State takes down number 5 Notre Dame, 34-23. Man, I really wanted to see the Irish pull this one off. But Andrew, why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised?
We all knew. We all knew.
My biggest thing with this
is I knew.
Yeah. My biggest thing with this is just look at the path the 2 teams took. Ohio State dropped over 40 on both Tennessee and Oregon. and honestly, I feel like if they wanted to, they would have dropped 40 on Texas. Like, it was 28-14 between Texas and Ohio State, but just the way it was played, it seemed like it was a lot worse.
Facts.
Meanwhile, Notre Dame, the only game they really handled was Georgia. They squeaked by Indiana, and they definitely squeaked by Penn State. Penn State probably should have won that game.
Penn State should have won.
Like,
I was rooting for Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State should have won that game, but Notre Dame won by a field goal. And look, I would love, and you know as well as I do, Notre Dame gets a lot of hate because they're an FBS independent school. So they don't have to follow the conference schedules.
Sad.
It's sad. Because they get a lot of hate. And, and there is a lot of controversy, and it's not just them. They're not the only school that's, in this, UMass and UConn are also FBS independents. And there's the argument of forcing them to join a conference. Well, whether that ever happens or not, it hasn't before, so we'll see. But, Ohio State, Will Howard, who is expected to be a 4th to 5th round quarterback in the draft this year, which could be a good sleeper for a lot of teams, went 17 for 21, 231 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Quinshon Judkins, 11 carries, 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And to me, one of the most explosive receivers in college, alongside Luther Burden, with good old Jeremiah Smith, who caught essentially the game-sealing pass, too. 5 catches, 88 yards, and a touchdown. So, look, it was a Notre Dame went up 7-0 in the first. But then, by near the end of the third quarter, it was 31-7 Ohio State. Notre Dame cuts it to 31-23, and they had a chance. You just needed to stop. But what happened, man? The field goal, it just sealed it for Ohio State.
That field goal, man.
Yeah. So until next year, basically, for the world of college football. But now we are going to head to a realm of yours that you much more enjoy.
What you mean? You mean I don't like baseball, even though I'm from St. Louis? Oh my god!
No. Yeah, exactly. You're one of the interesting ones. Okay.
That's crazy work.
A St. Louisan who doesn't like baseball. It's very interesting.
Speaking of St. Louis and that doesn't like baseball, how about that St. Louis boy that play on the Boston Celtics?
Exactly. And we'll have to talk about the Celtics too. But the first thing I wanted to actually talk about in basketball is Jimmy Butler is getting suspended again.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
They suspended Miami suspended Jimmy Butler earlier this month for 7 games, which cost him more than $2 million in a salary. Now, this time they're suspending him for 2 games for missing the team plane.
Yep.
So here's my question to you. Is that the forward's last game with the Miami Heat?
It's going to be his last game until they can trade him. See, they want
the deadline.
They want to trade him. That's the thing. They want to trade him, and the best way to get your bang for his buck and his bang for your buck and get what you want and he wants. He don't want to play for Miami. Miami don't want to pay him. They're just going to suspend him to where they don't have to pay him until they can trade him.
The NBA...
That was complicated, huh?
Right. Well, the NBA has this thing, is a really interesting thing when it comes to trades. Butler has told the Heat in recent weeks that he wants a trade. But he has not publicly disclosed that because in the NBA, you cannot publicly disclose that you want to be traded because that can lead to a fine of up to $150,000. God forbid somebody says it. Now, the only reason, now you may wonder, folks, well, if he never said it publicly, how do we know? The Heat revealed it. Teams can say it, but when they suspended him early this month, and they deemed it conduct detrimental to the team. Yep. So the trade deadline is February 6th, and the earliest he can play is this upcoming Monday, but we don't even know if he'll be on the roster by then.
He'll probably be on the roster.
Now, do you find there at this point, given the 2 suspensions, do you still find there being appeal for the 35-year-old forward?
In my opinion?
Yes.
What team you want him to go to?
What team do you think he'd be a good fit? That's the thing. Like, who could really use a 34 or 35-year-old forward right now, whether it be to fill a hole or for veteran
LeBron
presence?
James. I think the Lakers or the Sixers make sense.
Okay. I mean,
Jimmy, I know Jimmy would love to go back to the Sixers, and I know the Lakers would love to have him. It's all a matter of meshing together and things of that nature.
Now, I want to say this is going to be. Now, you're going to have to really screw your head on for this one.
Oh Lord,
this is from Bleacher Report. This isn't like an official news. It's just something Bleacher Report put up. This is a 5-team NBA trade that Bleacher Report put up to solve this whole problem.
That is ridiculous. 5-team trade is absurd.
Okay, so you're going to have to bear with me. So first we're going to start with what the Heat get.
Mm-hmm.
The Heat will get, first off, I'm going to tell you the teams. The Heat, the Suns, the Bucks, the Wizards, and the Thunder. So keep that one in mind. The Heat would get Chris Middleton and Bobby Portis from the Bucks.
Does it involve Bradley Beal and Zach LaVine as well?
They're in this trade.
You know what's so crazy?
What?
ESPN just popped this same freaking trade proposal up on my phone.
We got the 2025 first rounder from Oklahoma City going to the Heat. The Suns and a $4 million trade exception with Jimmy Butler.
That's good.
Then the Suns would get Jimmy Butler. The Bucks would get Brad Beal from the Heat or from the Suns, and a $2.7 million trade exception from Marjan Beauchamp. Now the Wizards would get Pat Connaughton, Marjan Beauchamp, a 2026 first rounder from the Suns, and a $5.3 million trade exception, Johnny Davis.
Okay.
The Thunder would get Johnny Davis from the Wizards and a 2028 first rounder from the Suns.
Honestly, I like it. Will it happen? No.
No. I don't know the last time a 5-team trade even happened, but damn.
I like it for every team involved, honestly.
I mean, I think I feel like the 5 parties involved would be happy. I do definitely think my thing, the greatest threat to Miami is Butler picking up that player option next year. It's the option of $52.4 million.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like for a team like the Heat, you need that money. So if you can clear that money somehow, and look, you know as well as I do, Chris Middleton. I like Chris Middleton. And Bobby Portis
is a dog.
Dude, they are veterans. They're championship veterans. Like great experience. Yeah, there's injury question marks.
You like it? Shout to Milwaukee.
Exactly. Now, here's the thing. You know, I asked if you see Jimmy Butler getting traded. Does Bradley Beal get traded before the deadline?
You know the sad reality? I don't think so. I don't think there's enough interest in Bradley Beal.
I was going to say, I know his agent has had to downplay rumors because there were rumors circulating about him possibly joining the Lakers and in a trade. And once again, there's a 4-team trade rumor out there regarding Brad Beal. And what's funny is it could people don't realize Brad Beal has a no trade clause too.
It's the funniest thing. That's why I said he ain't going nowhere.
He has to waive it. Now, you would have to make it an ideal destination for him and for the right price for him to be like, okay. So this is where the 5-team trade, as crazy as it seems on paper, this is where it does start to make a little more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Brad Beal can waive his no trade clause. Jimmy Butler wants out. The Heat are trying to save money. Every team involved is going to get a trade exception with money. The majority of the teams are going to get first rounders either next year or in 2 years from now.
Exactly.
So, and there's not really any bad player involved. Like, there's no fleecing. You know, everybody gets to me the right amount for the most part. You know, that's from my, I mean, I want your thoughts. If you think anybody from that trade would get fleeced, I look at it from my outside perspective.
If the Thunder get a first round pick, they'll be just fine. They'll get another one. They'll be just fine.
I was about to say, and you know, we know they can stockpile. So meanwhile, there is something else that is well, give me 1 second as we get more NBA trivia. Like I said, believe it or not, it's January 22nd. So we are literally just a couple weeks away from the trade deadline on February 6th. Now, here's some interesting news from a few from yesterday. The Suns traded their unprotected first-round pick in 2031 to the Jazz in exchange for 3 first-round picks. They'll be in 2025, 2027, and 2029.
You know, I knew you were going to bring that up. I'm not going to lie to you. I have no earthly idea what that was about. I don't know who's coming up in the draft in that year that they want to go after. I have no earthly idea.
You know, so I think it's just based on, to me, maybe where those picks came from. Because I look at it as it really, to me, it breaks open the next 6 drafts for Phoenix. And they have 1 tradable first in 2031. They breaks up their lone tradable first in 2031 into 3 future firsts. So they have tripled their first rounders. And look, I give the NBA a lot of flack for it.
What I mean is, I get why the Suns would do it. I don't know what the logic in the trade is, though.
Oh, well, I don't get what the Jazz. But that's my thing. I don't get what the Jazz getting it unless it's a short-term solution.
Unless there's someone in that draft that's in 2031 that they want.
Now,
they've done their research.
Also one other option. Once again, I'm going to have to backtrack to the 5-team trade. It may not be 5 teams, but if you're stockpiling on picks, Jimmy Butler's right there. You might have to send a first to get him.
Mm-hmm.
If a player's not going to work, you might have to do the player exception trade and the first rounder thrown in there. And, you know.
But that wouldn't make sense for the Jazz, but it would for the Suns. I see what you mean. Send 2 first.
I don't see anything where this would make sense for the Jazz. I don't see
That's what I'm trying to say. I tried to wrap my finger around it for an hour and a half today while I was at work. I don't get it.
Yeah. There's nothing I understand from the point of the Jazz. I absolutely get it for the sake of Phoenix, and if anything, this will make Phoenix, if they play their cards right, and look, you've told me countless times, you know, you've watched basketball a lot more than I have, how teams are able to maneuver picks around in the NBA.
They shuffle them things around like candy.
Yeah, like it is very easy for them to.
Play 2K for
Um,
5 seasons, you'll learn.
yeah, literally. So this is where teams like the Suns, the Bucks, I say even watch out for the Raptors. They're going to get probably mixed up in all this.
Maybe.
And the Heat, Jimmy Butler's going to be one of the biggest names, and I feel like he's going to get traded.
Well, he
Like,
has to. Like, if he
there's
doesn't get
no
traded, I don't. There's no way.
he has to get traded because you can't just have that dead cap. You cannot cut a guy with a 52.4 million player option. That is bad. So, we will see definitely how that plays out. So we'll look up one more story for the evening here that we got to check out, because one thing, it's always about trying to keep on tab with the latest news going on. And honestly, at this point, we might as well just go with the NBA standings. Right now in the Eastern Conference, the Cavaliers are the top dogs at 36-6.
They're balling out.
Meanwhile, though, shout out to Boston, home of Jason Tatum, but when it comes to the Celtics, at 30-13. Right now, they are just one of 3 teams in the NBA to have 30 wins. The Celtics, the Cavs, and the Thunder. The Thunder have right now a 35-7 record, which is crazy to think about. That's where that whole Warrior season where they only lost 7 games, it blows my mind. Because for the Thunder to match that, they'd have to win out, and it's January. Like, and shout out, even though I don't really like them as a team, like just because forget them, but shout out to the Pistons for somehow finding a way to bounce back this year after losing on average 50 games the past few years. They're 22-21 right now, and they'd be in the play-in tournament if the season ended today. And yes, for those wondering about the Jazz, because you would think they would want those picks to rebuild. Yeah, they are 10-31 right now. They're last in the conference.
Told you, it don't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, and it breaks my heart because last in the Eastern Conference is the Wizards at 6-36. Good Lord, how
They're
you
gonna go and
lose?
They're gonna sign MJ back.
The 11 straight losses.
Because
Woo-wee.
Poole is not the answer. They took a gamble. They paid Jordan Poole a bunch of money, and he was not the answer. They had the wrong superstar.
Who should it have been?
I don't know, but it wasn't him.
I was gonna say, I mean, it didn't work. I guess at the end of the day, it could have gone better for Brad Beal in Washington.
What about John Wall?
And John Wall, look, we know the issues with John Wall. Super talented, but damn those injuries.
Sad.
That's the thing with John Wall. So here's my thing. Who do you think right now? Obviously, we got the teams that are the favorites. We know your favorite team. We know what teams are among the elite. Who do you think's the biggest sleeper team in the NBA right now? The team to watch out for.
You know how they always say a hot streak has to come to an end?
Okay, yeah.
I don't think Cleveland stops anytime soon.
Really?
Nope.
They're 8-2 in their last 10.
They're not slowing down. Like, anytime anybody asks me about this, I don't think Cleveland slows down.
Yeah, they have not had. This is unbelievable how well. They're second in points per game. They're 15th in rebounds per game, and they're 5th in assists per game. And they're 11th in opponents' points per game.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's it's insane. And then you look at Boston. Boston's fourth in scoring, and they're sixth in defense. So it's
Injuries,
not.
man. But we don't use it. We don't make excuses over here.
But I was gonna say, but injuries have, they pile up.
But
Um,
at the end of the day, if I had to pick a sleeper team, even though I don't really think they're a sleeper, I think the Knicks.
okay.
If I had to pick one to make some noise, I think it's the Knicks.
You think it's the Knicks?
Jalen Brunson is a dog.
Jalen Brunson has been phenomenal, and the Knicks are third in the Eastern Conference. So I get what you're saying about them not necessarily being a sleeper, but when you think of the Knicks, you don't think highly usually. And the Knicks are 29 and 16, so they're just 2 games behind Boston for the 2 spot. Um, God forbid they're 8.5 back of Cleveland.
But when it
Um,
comes to the Knicks, their biggest downfall is the fact that their two best defenders, if not their two of their best defenders, Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges, I think they lead the NBA in points per game.
oh,
I don't fact check me on that, but I know for 100% fact they're up there.
yeah.
Actually, let me fact check it.
I was gonna say, while you fact check it, we're gonna start wrapping things up here on Roundabout Sports. So while Andrew fact checks his stat, I want to tell y'all folks that Roundabout Sports is on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Pocket Cast, and anywhere else where you stream podcasts. Be sure to follow Interstate 70 Sports Media on Facebook, X, and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Roundabout Sports is also on Facebook as well. Be sure to advertise with us on Interstate 70 Sports Media. If you want to be a sponsor, advertiser, be sure to shoot us a DM on any of our social platforms, and we will get back to you. And be sure to strike a deal that you definitely wouldn't be ashamed of. As always, here on Roundabout Sports, at the end of every show, we put up the NAMI helpline. For that, you dial 1 800 950 NAMI, 1 800 950 NAMI. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization dedicated to building better lives for those who struggle with mental illness as well as their families. Um, and of course, we put up the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline to end the show. And for that, you can dial 988. The line is open 24/7, 365, 366 on leap years. Understand that you're never alone in this world. There is always somebody out there who loves you, who cares about you, and wants nothing but the best for you. Now, every day we all struggle. There's always something that goes on, whether it's in our work life, our personal life, whatever the case may be. And it's valid. Understand that what you go through is valid and don't let anybody tell you it's not. But you don't have to face it alone. You are just a phone call, a text message, an appointment away from getting the help that could very well be life-saving. And you could also be the listening ears and the watchful eyes for somebody in need as well. So make sure to spread the love. I want to, of course, thank my bro for life, Andrew, for being on this evening. I look forward to doing this again. And Andrew, before we close it, did you get a fact check?
So with 38.59 minutes per game. At number 2 is Josh Hart at 37.81 minutes per game. At number 7 is OG Anunoby with 36.73 points per game. And at number 22 is Jalen Brunson with 35.35 points per game.
All righty, folks. You heard it there from the man himself. Until next time, until next Wednesday,
Wait,
folks.
we can't go yet.
Oh.
We got to make our predictions for the NFL playoffs.
That's true. Okay, well, folks, before we absolutely close it up,
Then
Andrew, AFC and NFC championships. Who do you have, my friend?
I'm not. I ain't got a score, but I got Kansas City going back to the bowl game.
All right, and who are they facing?
I'm riding the hot hand. Jaden Daniels.
Well, it looks like we will have the same prediction.
Oh snap!
But I got the most balls to the wall AFC title game.
It's gonna be
All
something.
right.
That's gonna be.
I got this one. They don't really do since they don't do the double overtime thing like that anymore. They do the new rules type thing. They're going into the new rules in this AFC title game, and the Chiefs are going to edge them out. This ain't no one's blowing anybody out in the AFC title game, but the Chiefs are going to edge out Josh Allen and the Bills again. And as for the NFC, all I got to say is Philly's going to have a hell of a time trying to take down a scrambling quarterback.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's all I can say. So, as always, folks, we'll see you next week. I'm the Maestro Jeremy Karp alongside Andrew Henson. As always, remember that life is a book full of empty pages just waiting to be written in. Make your lives worth reading. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.